We're back. It's time for the 2024 Urban NerdCon. Join us in Atlanta, Georgia, April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel. Special guests include Underworld creator Kevin Grievous, Gary Gray from Fairly Odd Parents, from Nickelodeon, Giovanni Samuels, the Science Machine Michael Green, the Sci-Fi Sisters, and from Spaceballs and Star Trek Voyager, Tim Russ.
Hi, I'm Tim Russ. Join me April 26th through the 28th at the Cortland Grand Hotel in Atlanta, Georgia for the Urban NerdCon. Our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone con. I'll see you there. Live long and prosper.
Visit theurbannerdcon.net to get your buy one, get one free badges before the price increases. Remember, our heroes, our villains, our stories. Everyone's con. See you there.
Yeah.
I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Well, Mike Washington is out on assignment. We have none other than A.D. Drew driving the machine and giving you that third bat, if they would say, in the lineup. It gets it done coming off the bench, ready to put it in play. Good stuff, good stuff. With that being said, welcome to episode 498 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. Man, we're that much closer to that magic 500. It's kind of amazing when you think about it as you get the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NEIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-hosts, A.D. Drew and Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, Charles, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Doc. We got a busy slate of games this weekend via baseball, and we also got some spring games out in the midst, Jackson State and Alcorn. So a lot of action coming up on us this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of good stuff. It's time to get into baseball and softball. We can turn that switch from basketball. And now it's time to talk about the ping of the bat, the dirt on the infield, if you would. Who's going to steal home? With that question, we'll see what that looks like. A.D. Drew, how you doing today?
And it's springtime in the air. I don't know what's more frustrating this time of the year. Dealing with the pollen and your eyes and your nose and everything else being watered. Washing your car and then coming back to your car 3 hours later and your car is yellow because of the pollen. or number three, not knowing how to dress, having to put on a hoodie when you walk out the house in the morning, and then when you go to lunch, you got to strip because it's like it's so doggone hot or humid or whatever, man. This is the most frustrating time of the year, but I love it.
Man, This is one of the few times when I got to walk down the Tiger Walk and I was like, ooh, it's time to play a little hooky.
It's gorgeous out there. It's gorgeous. It's golf weather.
Still couldn't do it. End up honors college day. Congratulations to over 3,600 students that met various levels of the honors roll, 3.0 GPA and higher. We had 38 students, 39 students, almost 40 students that have GPAs of 4.0, not just for one semester. This is 2 consecutive semesters, fall 2023 and the spring 2023. So I was like, that's amazing. It took me a summer school before I found a way to navigate the space of getting a 4.0, but that's a whole different conversation many moons ago.
First semester grad school, Doc. First semester grad school. Never even got one in high school, but got one in my first semester grad school.
Would you believe my best semester ever at Jackson State was the semester I pledged? Thank you, Delta Phi.
Yeah. I have to admit to that. Ada Gamma made sure that I had the best GPA that I had through my undergraduate years, which was quite amazing when you think about it all. But I'll leave that on the other side.
I was disciplined, Doc. I was disciplined.
While we're going to spend some time on baseball, I think it was fascinating to talk a little bit about the fact that there was some good football news up there. I want to give a shout out to HBCU Game Day. Always trying to push the envelope. They found a way to get a hold of the Albany State spring football game. So the spring game kicks off at noon, and admission is free for spectators, as you would imagine. Many times for spring games, you might have a nominal cost $10 of parking, things of that nature. Always free for students. But HBCU Game Day will broadcast live from the ASU Coliseum on Saturday, April the 6th. That's this Saturday, noon Eastern Standard Time. That'd be 11 o'clock Central Standard Time for us. 2024 Albany State Golden Ram Spring Game. The spring game kicks off, as we said, at noon, free for spectators. The marching Ram show band, along with the cheerleaders, will be in attendance. I think that was fascinating, a good deal. Smart on both sides in terms of finding a way to negotiate this and get it done. Saturday wraps up the spring season, during which the Golden Rams participate in 14 practices. It's the second year under head coach Quinn Gray. Is eager to take his team through the ranks and see what he believes they're made of for the fall when it really counts. We'll also speak live to Albany State's Director of Athletics, Dr. Christine Kelly. I got to see her up there as I was in CIAA country for the basketball tournament. She is alumni of that conference, so she got a chance to get to Baltimore, shake some hands, and kudos to what she's getting done. Vaughn Wilson will be on the play-by-play, and correspondent Micah Yant will provide color commentary. HBCU Game Day sideline reporter Lady Jade will be in the crowd doing the live interviews throughout the event. Quinn Gray expresses excitement for Saturday's game starting, quote, "Our student athletes have put in tremendous work and dedication during our winter conditioning, and they have done a great job of transitioning that to the practice field throughout the spring season." That's all you can ask for there. But kudos to HBCU Game Day, Albany State, for finding a way to make this happen. Hashtag move the needle. You see that out there, make sure you hashtag and make that do what it does. The games will be on HBCU Game Day as well as YouTube for those that didn't catch that. I thought that's a nice little move by HBCU Pro to find a way to put their spring games out there. We've seen that obviously with ESPN, but contract, that's a different thing, and a lot of times in terms of what that looks like with a contract. So they found a way to get it done. Good stuff.
Yeah, that's tremendous.
Did you see that Rattler? Did y'all see that Rattler connection?
Oh yeah, Quinn Gray. We're gonna make sure you get to it. Is another one?
No. Quinn Gray, Vaughn Wilson, two Rattlers.
Oh, Vaughn Wilson is two of them. Long
Vaughn Wilson punted at FAMU before Quentin Gray played quarterback at FAMU. So, I hope y'all saw that Rattler connection between those two. So,
well, if we didn't see it, we certainly heard it.
Charles, you were about to jump in there and say something. You can go ahead and finish it up.
No, I was gonna say that's tremendous. At HBCU game, they expanding their platform to show that spring game of Albany State. So looking forward to it, and that's what it's about. That's expanding their platform. I like to see that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I'm gonna stick with you, Charles, and see what other bit of news that you want to get out there.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. And I know we're winding down on basketball, but still some headlines out there as HBCU basketball players were named to the NAIA All-American team. The NAIA has announced its All-American team in men's basketball, and it features 4 HBCU players, including one on the first team. Anthony Roy, guard from Langston, in his first season with Langston since transferring from New Mexico State. He was the only HBCU player named to the NAIA All-American first team. Doc, averaged 18.4 points per game on 47% shooting from the field and a whopping 42% from the three-point range. Others making the NAIA All-American team, Toru Dean, also a guard from Langston. He averaged 9.4 points, 4.4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2 steals. Jamal Gibson from Southern and New Orleans. He, of course, shot 52% from the field, 21 points, and then he averaged 15.8 rebounds per game. And then you also have Najee Jones, guard from Texas College. He rounds out the list. He helped the team to their first 20-win season since 2010.
Good stuff. Congratulations to all the NIA players of HBCUs that made that list. Big stuff, All-American, always great. Eddie Drew, any news that you wanted to get in there?
Yeah, before I do, I hope you don't mind, Doc. I got to take my point of special privilege and remind everyone that tonight is last night to vote for Morgan Hunter, former basketball player of mine, Tougaloo alum there, Morgan Hunter. So if everybody could take a moment and vote for her, America's favorite teacher. I will put the link in the chat when we go to our first break. You can vote on break, and then by the time we come back from break, you won't miss any of the show because it's simple for you to do. So I'd appreciate it if everybody would go ahead and vote for Morgan while you're there. But I've got 2 things, Doc, and both of them are from the state of Alabama, and I don't know which one excites me more, Doc. So I'm gonna be brief and quickly hit on both of them. Found out about a day ago before some people started finding out through the chatter that, as God said, "Let there be light," and there may be light in Cleve Abbott Memorial Alumni Bowl at Tuskegee. You know, Tuskegee. Matter of fact, we're coming up on, I believe, the 100-year anniversary of that facility, because I think it was built in either 1924 or 1925, and I'm going off the top of my head with that. But it would be fitting that they would add lights during this year. Nice. I don't know if that excites me more, or the fact that our top rival, Alabama State, is going to add women's flag football. And on the NAIA level, it is a big hit. Numbers at schools, enrollment is up on the female side because of flag football. Alabama State would be the first NCAA Division I school. Let me repeat that. The first NCAA Division I school, not HBCU, all of NCAA Division I, to add flag football as a varsity sport, and will become the second HBCU to offer flag football, along with Florida Memorial of the NAIA and Sun Conference.
Man, good stuff. Great point of privilege. I saw that you continue to do good work. The young lady was at number 1, slid to number 3, but you put out some more
information. She's back to number 2.
Now she's back at number 2. So continue to do that. As you said, this is the last day. So let's get that out there and support her, particularly, and support you in regards to the work that you put in there. Kudos for doing that and pushing former students. I love the fact that you stay connected and get that done. Talk about a little bit about the Florida Memorial before we go to this first break and get prepared for a next session. Florida Memorial, speaking of them, hires away. As Charles talked about Langston on the men's side, they hire away women's basketball coach away from Langston. So Florida Memorial is doing what's necessary after seeing the success of Kevin Harrod getting it done over there at Langston, now moving to Florida Memorial. So I thought that was fascinating, just the connections as we've kept up with all that all year long in terms of NIA. Obviously, Travis Scott brand highlighting HBCUs with apparel line. Thought that's pretty cool, particularly with him sponsoring, a 3-year. This is the second year of the Cactus Jack baseball classic, HBCU baseball classic, if you would. Familiar with him, obviously, in the greater Houston. Now he has some HBCUs, which include Grambling State, North Carolina A&T, Southern University, and Texas Southern University. I know when we first came out, I think it was Grambling A&T, but they have Southern University and Texas Southern University making that connection. So might have to dab and give me a little pair of HBCU gear to support that particular Travis Scott and the branding. I saw the hat there and some other things look pretty nice. With that, let's get into our first break, come back on the other side and see if we can get into some baseball talk. With that, we'll take our next break and see y'all on the other side. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a law, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We have our guest, Coach Johnny Hernandez. Coach Hernandez of the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, first place of the Eastern Division SWAC 12-team gauntlet, particularly in that East Division for some. Some people say maybe the West is trying to do their thing. With that being said, Coach, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Always great to have some time to talk about our program here in Daytona Beach.
Oh, it's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. I'll give the honors to fellow co-host Charles to kind of open it up since he locked this in. So I want to do a little treat and let him kick it off.
Oh, no problem. Coach Hernandez, as Doc said, welcome back in. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the program. You guys are tops in of that rugged SWAC East Division. What has been sort of the keys to success thus far here, kind of at the midway point of the season?
I think it starts right with pitching and defense. That's kind of carried us, over not only in our conference, weekend games that we've had thus far, but even in our non-conference schedule that we've played. I think the pitching is kind of, held their own, and it's tough, right? Because with a program like ours, having such turnover, it seems every year, whether it's graduation, the transfer portal, which is affecting Division I athletics and athletics all across the board. For us to continue to recruit, players that have the ability to, uphold the standard that we do have here at Bethune-Cookman. So I think that there's a lot of things going the right way, but at the end of the day, we're at the halfway point, and there's still areas that we have to address, and we have addressed to get better in order to, make this a run, in Atlanta. And like you alluded to, the SWAC East is a tough division. You can't afford to take a weekend off in the SWAC East, as I'm sure that the SWAC West coaches would agree on their side as well. So going through, I think, kind of a tough stretch with Jackson State coming in this weekend and, going to Alabama State next weekend. It's really going to test the character and the makeup of our program. And we're looking forward to, a really good series with, a really good program in Jackson State.
Have you seen any surprises thus far this season, or has everything pretty much gone according to what you probably thought you were going to see this upcoming season?
I don't think that there's surprises. I think that the players have met so far the expectations and the standards of we addressed, throughout the course of the preseason and in the fall training camp, that we had. So we still got to get better. We're really chasing consistency. We just got to be a little bit more consistent in our process and our routines to, continue, the success that, so far we've shown this year, but also with the success that, the program has had in the history here at Bethune-Cookman.
No doubt, no doubt.
80 Drew, go ahead and jump in for our next set of questions.
I have to be quiet. Can't say this too loud. I hope no one is listening, but Johnny is my second favorite coach. He know who's number one in my heart is. So he doesn't take offense to that. Coach Shoup is has to be my favorite coach because he's coaching my alma mater.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Omar Johnson.
He's down the list somewhere. He's down the list. No, but
I think he just didn't say it because he can't say it because it's over the air. You don't want to get in trouble.
Right.
No, but obviously, big series last weekend against the Rattlers. But I'm not going to ask you to rehash that series. But I am going to ask you a question about that, though. Looked at the schedule and realized FAMU and Bethune only play one time this year because of how the schedule rotates. Give me your opinions on that, especially when you consider, how much of a rival that is between FAMU and Bethune, with that only being one time and teams not having the opportunity to get their get back, especially in your half of the conference. And Bethune and FAMU is not the only team that's like that, where you've only got one series on your half. So just give me your thoughts on that, Coach.
I mean, anytime that you line up, FAMU and Bethune, it could be, any sport or even checkers, right? Or a dialogue, that there's going to be some competitiveness between the Rattlers and the Wildcats. But like I've alluded, in the past, I have so much respect for not only Coach Shoup, what he's done in his career and his time at FAMU, but, every SWAC coach, that's coaching right now and having an opportunity to lead their respective programs. I still think for us, it left kind of a sour taste how we ended our series. Even though we did win the series, we didn't finish, right? We had an opportunity to finish the weekend, and, championship teams find a way to win on Championship Sunday, right? And if we're expected to go back and compete for a SWAC championship, we have to find a way to, win on Sundays. And unfortunately, we did not do that. But at the same time, we know what's at stake every weekend, whether it's FAM, Alabama State, Alabama State, Alabama A&M, Mississippi Valley, or Jackson State. We got to come with it, every single day, and we can't afford to, lay down, so to speak. We need to let people know who we are. And I think we've done a good job, not only us, but FAMU as well, 2 or 3 years now going into the SWAC. Looking forward to facing the Rattlers again when we go down or up to the highest of the Seven Hills, right? Up in Tallahassee, which I'm sure, AD, you'll be over there, supporting your Rattlers. But no, man, it's great competition. I think it's great for the conference. And like I said, man, not only with FAMU, but, everyone in the SWAC baseball side of things, they've done a tremendous job. And we're just trying to continue to propel the conference moving forward on a national stage. And I think that's what our overall end goal is. And I think so far we're really trending in the right direction as a conference as a whole.
Yeah. All right. And my next question is, and I know you probably can only speak to this as far as your team is concerned, but one thing that I've noticed about looking at some of the games, that few games that I have had opportunity to watch, because I've been so enamored in basketball up until about a week or so ago, but I still was scoreboard watching. And when you get the scoreboard watching, sometimes you see football scores in some of these games. Uh, just your professional opinion, what outside of just the lack of arms, what do you attest that for? Because we have so many games where you see both teams scoring in double digits, and let's after a certain point in time, it's not fun for the fans when you're seeing so much off. His dang sure not fun for the pitchers when they're giving up 8 and 10 runs and everything else. So, just what do you think is the cause? Is the hitting just that much ahead of the pitching, or are there other factors to it, Coach?
I think there's other factors. I think every coach has a philosophy in the way that they recruit, their team, or philosophy on how they want to build their teams. But one thing for us here at Bethune, like I said, just based on us, I mean, it starts with pitching and defense. I'm a firm believer that you're not going to outslug your way to a championship. Good pitching is definitely going to be good hitting, when it comes around this. So I think, again, I think that's also a credit to the player development on the offensive side with, all the coaches, just looking at the scores and seeing how everything is. It's, again, man, it's grueling, every weekend. You also have to put yourself in a position to not be one dimensional as far as like an offense scoring, right? You have to be able to win on the road. You have to win at home. You have to take care of business day in and day out. So I think that there's a lot of things. It could be, the coaching staff's philosophy of how and who or what type of player they recruit. I think the other thing too is the offensive development of the players and the student athletes in their respective programs. And I think that the coaches, obviously with the numbers that are thrown out there, they've done a really good job of developing really good hitters in our conference. But for us, we're not going to get, the big hitters. We're going to stick with pitching and defense. That's what's been successful. We're at the top of the SWAC statistics as far as like team ERA, the least amount of walks, and our fielding percentage is at the top of the SWAC statistics. But we are middle to bottom of the pack offensively, and at the end of the day, we just got to do a good job of limiting the offensive team's ability to score runs. And I think so far we've done a pretty good job of that this year.
Coach, wanted to follow up and first say thank you. While Drew may not be able to talk about his favorite coach, I like the way you recruit, and you recruited my son at the flag baseball tournament. And while we take him to make sure he can play his games on Saturday, and then he finds a way either whether he heading down to Prairie View, if they have a series at home, or whether we're going over to Texas Southern maybe on a Sunday, if they're splitting the series and both have a series at home. But I will say this: he's very familiar with YouTube, which, like a lot of kids at 8, 9, and 10 years old, he figures that out. But one of his things is watching Major League Baseball. But his favorite thing is making sure he can go check to see when Bethune-Cookman is on the Cat Eye Network. Finds out. And he's what do the Wildcats do? So I said, all right, Coach Hernandez has a fan in one deuce. So I want to say appreciate you in all seriousness in terms of what you do to have young people fall in love with the game, which I think is really big, particularly when you're talking about minority students, young Black boys playing the game. With that being said, I wanted to get back. You talked about how the game is changing. Obviously, a lot of that is just the natural attrition of 4-year players, 3-year players playing baseball, but you added in the fact of the transfer portal. Can you give us some framework of how you handle it? I think a lot of what you're still kind of learning because it's early in it, but how have you attacked the transfer portal in terms of maintaining the kids that you can maintain, but also seeing that there's potentially some good fit out there to bring to your team?
Yeah, I think the transfer portal, for all the negative talk, right, that it does have and the negative effect it does have in athletics, it definitely has its positive sides as well. For us here at Bethune, it's never a rebuild. It's all about reloading. right? So, we can't be afraid of the fact of a student athlete walking into the office and saying, hey, we're going to transfer out. That's just a landscape that we live in, providing obviously opportunities for student athletes if they do have an opportunity to go in the transfer portal. For us, we've had a lot of turnover the last 3 years. I want to say we've had over 20 to 25 players go in the transfer portal, and that's just on them. Seeking opportunities that they feel is best in their interest. And that's fine. At the end of the day, if they call me, right, and they need advice or support, I'm still going to be there for them. I'm never going to turn my back on a student athlete that we've had the pleasure of coaching and developing, not only on the field, but off the field. But it does give us a unique opportunity to go out and find some players that maybe are bigger schools and are not having, the playing time or the closeness relationships that they have with their respective coaches. It does give us an opportunity to, maybe bring in, a player that does have experience via the transfer portal. We really don't hit the transfer portal a lot because it's just a tough situation with NIL as well. That, some institutions, like ours, we don't have that capability, and that's fine. So we go the junior college route. There's a lot of players that, go junior college for 2 years. They're playing every day, and they understand what it means to be a college student athlete, right? Wake up, go to the weight room, go to class, know what it feels like to get on a bus ride and do what they need to do. And they do have the experience to step in and play right away, especially the landscape of college baseball. It's older, that not too many freshmen have an opportunity to come in and play right away at Division I level. So again, man, you take it for what it is. You take the pros with the cons, and you just make the best decision possible you can to have a student athlete be a positive impact to not only your baseball program, but to the institution as well.
Well, let me ask this question. Follow up. Oh, go ahead, Doc. Because I did have a follow up I wanted to ask.
No, you fine.
Oh well,
no, go ahead. Let's get that follow up.
Yeah, and it's in regards to your coaching philosophy. And like you mentioned, your team ERA, you're number one in the SWAC. You talk about defense, you're number one in regards to fielder percentage, but is there something that you look for in terms of a player, in terms of an experienced player? Because when we take a look at the style of play in SWAC, it is offensive heavy. Guys get on base, they steal bases, but you guys did a tremendous job of kind of limiting your exposure with regards to teams just taking extra bases and doing the little things that it takes to win ball games. And I was just curious in terms of the sort of player that you're looking for your program.
I think that the biggest thing is just making sure that at the end of the day, we have to do our due process, right? We can't just look at a student athlete one time and say, we're going to go after him. We have to really go into the background. We have to look at the makeup, the character. For us, one of the things that we've seen that's been successful is having players that have faced some type of adversity in their lives, right? Whether it's a family trauma, something had to have happened that they faced adversity, and they came, they did well with that adversity. So once that tells me, all right, they're mentally tough, they're able to handle the rigors of what it is to not only be a student athlete, at the college Division I level, but they're going to be good teammates, good people. That's all big, man. Like, you can have a really good player, to have an opportunity to recruit, but they're not the best of teammates. And I mean, we all know, right? One bad apple spreads into, a lot of bad apples. And that's something that we don't want. We have to be very careful of the type of player that we're able to bring in, because they're not only representing, our program, on and off the field, but they're also representing their families, when they come to our community and they do what they need to do. So, obviously it's got to be a player that has the ability to play at the Division I level, right? I mean, we play 30, conference games, but we also play 26 non-conference games against Power 5 opponents and some top-end mid-major programs here in the state of Florida. So we have to be able to identify and evaluate that student athlete. Are they going to give us an opportunity to, continue to push forward our program forward, which is what, we look for. So, good teammate, mentally tough, have the ability to play at the Division I level. Those are all things that, we definitely look at. And, academically, they have to fit within our academic structure here at our university, right? And we have to make sure that the degree program that they are seeking, we do offer that, right? Especially when it comes to the economics of sport and the universities. I mean, I can't think of anybody that'll go to a school just to get a degree that's not going to help them in the future, right? Be a provider of their family, because at the end of the day, they're going to be husbands and fathers and be the sole provider of their household. So we got to make sure that we put them in the best position possible to succeed, not only on the field, but off the field as well.
Sure thing.
Good stuff. I wanted to jump back in there and ask the question in regards to we seen the uptick with NIA, HBCU baseball programs being able to restart some programs. Happen to be mostly, private institutions. You have some solid private institutions at the Division II level, mainly in the SIAC. But how have you navigated the space, branding, marketing wise? I don't know if it's been something that you've been able to utilize to be the only HBCU Division I baseball program out in the marketplace.
I think it provides a unique opportunity, being that we are the only HBCU conference right now in the country, especially at the Division I level. It gives us an opportunity to go ahead and represent, our universities and do what we need to do to put our best foot forward, to represent our brands all across the board. It's a situation where I feel that we not only, represent the SWAC, but we represent every HBCU conference, whether it's D2, NAIA, independent, whatever the case may be. So it definitely gives us a unique opportunity to be able to provide, those opportunities for the student athletes that are interested in coming to HBCUs. But again, you look at our schedule and we're going to play the best. We're not going to back down from anybody. I mean, that's a true testament to not only the recruitment, the identification, evaluation of the student athletes, but the development of what our assistant coaches have been able to do and the work that our student athletes are putting in to put us in a really good position to represent not only Bethune, but, the SWAC conference and every other HBCU, conference in the country. And I had the opportunity to play at Florida Memorial University down at Miami Gardens. And I always keep tabs of what the Lions are doing down at Harry T. Moore Field. And I have much love for Florida Memorial and Coach Burgos, and he's doing a really good job. I think that, they took 3 out of 4 from, Kaiser University a couple of weeks ago. And, that's a program that's done well. So,
that's
that's huge. I keep up with the HBCU conferences because, again, that's something that we continue to, we have to support one another, regardless of division, regardless of level, regardless of how many student athletes or the resources that you do or don't have. We're all in this thing together, and we're just trying to push every brand, forward. And that's an opportunity that I think that we do have, and I don't take that lightly or granted for one day.
I like that. You talked about your scheduling, which is fascinating because I always look at the fact that BCU, a private institution playing Division I at HBCU, and I always love the fact that you had that opportunity. The only one out there is able to keep baseball and do it at a high level. But when you talk about your schedule, Florida International, you got a victory over them. You played Gulf Coast, Florida Gulf Coast, getting 1 victory there. Played number 4 Florida in that matchup. We saw Florida International, Jacksonville got a victory there in terms of some matchup, North Florida. So as you talked about, you play an aggressive schedule. You're able to play several D1 schools in the state of Florida that play baseball. But this week, and you had that close one against South Florida, tough loss there 5-6. But this week we saw Southern get a victory over top-ranked number 18 at the time, LSU. I turned the framework and noticed you had Florida playing deep into Florida A&M. Speaking of A.D. Drew, right in that mix into the eighth inning, ninth. They kind of got a couple of big hits there, but you played number 25 UCF. And then I turn around and look at it and I say Florida State, number 14 that you all just faced. Close matchup, 5-2 loss. What are you seeing in terms of midweek games? We knew about weekend series when they come up, but these midweek games, we're seeing a lot more competitive competition between a lot of the SWAC schools. Obviously seeing a victory there by Southern. Past years, you've seen Bethune-Cookman get a top 25 win. FAMU get a top 25. Alabama State get a top 25. What are your thoughts in terms of what's attributing to being able to get some of those what a lot of people would see as big-time victories, particularly during the week when you're getting down to your 4th and 5th pitcher a lot of times?
Well, first, I'll kind of allude to what you spoke about being a private institution and being able to support athletics. I think that that's also support, direct support of our athletic director, his staff, and as well our administration. Here Bethune-Cookman, and they've done a phenomenal job. Supporting not only baseball but all the sports that we do have here, in order to make it possible. Being that we are a private institution and having the success that our overall athletic department is having and is going to continue to have. I think it's great, the opportunity that we have with our midweek schedules. Again, talking about us, since we are in Florida, we're within driving distance of Florida, Florida State, Miami, where we're able to have those games. Having, Southern and Coach Crenshaw go down to the box and take a W, which they did so, very convincing. It wasn't like a one inning something bad. I mean, they led pretty much, I believe, that whole game. And I was tuned into that game, as I'm sure all of us were, because again, we're here to support each other, to do what they need to do. And, even the close games that, FAMU has had and all the other programs, that's just, again, attributed to the on-field development of the student athletes all across the board. And no one can deny that. I mean, SWAC baseball is legit. It has a chance to, I believe that it has a chance to move the conference forward on a national scale. So again, I think it's a credit to the head coaches in our conference, the assistant coaches that, work alongside with every head coach that we do have in our conference, and the student athletes that we are recruiting as a conference to elevate the SWAC moving forward. So, it is attributed to all those pieces. They all kind of intertwine together, and it's great, and I think that it's going to continue to happen. It's not just a one, stop shop type deal where it happened once. There's going to be other teams in the SWAC that are going to be able to have success in their midweek schedules, just with the continued development that, they've shown, that they've been able to do. So I'm proud of, all the teams in our conference, the way that we're competing, not only on the weekends, but as well in our midweek non-conference schedules as well.
Promise to get you out on this one. I know your time is valuable, but I'd be remiss if I didn't allow you to highlight a couple of key players that we can look forward coming up into this home series against Jackson State. They got off playing really good baseball, so we talk about the competitiveness, but talk about some key players, both on the mound and in the batter box, that we need to keep our eyes on this weekend to kind of give some of the fans some identification, because I know you can go and don't want to leave any players out. But for the fans, let's highlight a couple of players that we need to keep our eyes on this weekend.
Tanner Bocabello, yeah.
Yeah, and Charles, you hit it on the head, right? Like, I mean, when you lose a Friday night guy like Nolan Santos last year, who had the opportunity to get drafted in the 7th round by the Minnesota Twins, it's very hard to replace, someone of that magnitude who's meant so much to our program while he was with us for 3 or 4 years. But, Tanner Bocabello has definitely embraced that role. He's had a phenomenal year. He missed a start last week against Alabama A&M because he was down with the flu, and we had a freshman step up in his spot on Thursday. But he's a true ace. He's a guy that's going to compete. He's going to give you everything you got. Sometimes we're in the dugout and, we're thinking about pulling him, and he's like, don't you dare take me out of this game. I want to finish this for the team. So he's been really good. And again, like, even trying to replace a closer, the SWAC reliever of the year, Yohan Gonzalez, who's pitching now with the San Diego Padres. We had to really identify who that person was going to be. And we've had 2 or 3 guys that have stepped up. Pablo Torres is a sophomore right-handed pitcher who was invited to Team USA last year. He throws 2 or 3 pitches for strikes. Just keep us in ball games. And Joel Core is a freshman. And we talk about how difficult it is for freshmen to get acclimated to Division I athletics. He's done a really good job, and he's been a part of, 2 or 3 of those midweek wins. And we all know when you get down to the tournament, that 4th starter,
yes,
your
sir.
midweek starter is
Yes,
just
sir.
as important as your first guy or second guy. So on the bump, those 3 guys. And offensively, you look at Jose Gonzalez, who's an NAIA transfer from the Sun Conference from Ave Maria University. He's leading our team right now in hitting. Garrett Chun is a returner. He was on the SWAC tournament, team that we had last year. He's doing well. And you have Irvin Escobar, who's been our catcher here for 3 years. He's also hitting upwards of 300. But in all, man, it all works together. You can't just pinpoint an individual person. It's all coming together, a collective group effort to have success day in and day out. And those guys are doing a really good job. And I'm very proud of not only our student athletes we have here representing our program, but the assistant coaches that we have. They've been doing a great job.
Man, we'll keep our eyes on all those guys. Great job. And I love the way you made sure you threw in those draftees in the mix in terms of who left the team. That's a good job, Mark.
Yeah, he coached.
I told you, man.
He wanted to do one of these. Yeah, I coached.
He got Look, he said what the Wildcats doing this week. He got the social media, YouTube, puts it on the big screen. I said, what you doing? He just takes over. He has to see the Wildcats, see what they're doing. So great job, Coach. Keep it up. Big time fan in all seriousness. Not only in terms of your ball club playing some really good baseball, which is the first thing you want to do, but the way that you treat your players, the way you treat the game, and the way you treat fans, and making sure that you publicizing Bethune-Cookman, but not only that, the SWAC
and the media
and division is extremely important. You're putting in the work on multiple levels. And we want to say thank you for that because it means so much. With that, we'll let you get back to it. I know you're going to draw some lines and get prepared for this weekend, so we don't want to hold you back. We don't want to have any problems with folks coming back to us. Bethune-Cookman Wildcats alumni will be like, Charles, you did that on purpose. You kept us on whatever. So we don't have no problem with that. It's not us. You know.
Especially with Jackson State coming in this weekend. Huh?
That's right, Coach.
I know what you're doing, Charles. I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You got it.
Right back after this break. We just want to say, Coach, good luck this weekend. Go Wildcats. And thank you, Coach, for coming on here. We'll take this next break. We'll come back, talk a little more baseball. We're going to get into the mid-major division, let AD do his team about a couple of some of the programs to watch. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cavil Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cavil.
As technology continues to bring changes to the world of education, it's time we also reimagine teacher professional development. Gone are the days of one-size-fits-all learning that can only be accessed at a specific time and place. The Stride PD Center is an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that allow educators to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. The best professional development plans are those that include a level of flexibility and choice for educators. Whether you're a teacher, school, or district, visit us today to take charge of your learning.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bills inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We're going to give you some of the small school division. We like to call it mid-major. So I want to get AD Drew, who's our resident expert in terms of the mid-major division, Division II programs, and some NIA programs. We'll look a little bit in terms of the SIEC, see his thoughts in terms of top programs, who to keep your eyes on, anybody doing stuff in the GCAC that he says keep your eyes on, and certainly, as you heard about Florida Memorial, we certainly have to talk a little bit about that. But Drew, give me your team to watch? I'm sure Albany State. What are your thoughts? Last time you're on here, you told us keep our eyes on them. Any other program other than Savannah State in terms of that matchup? What are your thoughts in terms of the SIAC between those two programs, particularly?
Now, my sentiments are not going to change, Dr. Cavil. Albany State right now is the team to beat. Albany State regular season. Albany State has dominated the SIAC for the last 4 or 5 years or so. Albany State's problem has come in the tournament.
Yeah.
When do they drop that game in the tournament and have to fight out the losers bracket? So that's going to be the question. Has Coach gotten enough pitching where he will not have to fight out of that losers bracket because you're throwing your number? Okay. Unlike the SWAC where you've got to throw your number one on day one of the tournament nowadays because of how it is, in the SIAC, you can still get away with starting your midweek starter in game one, except if your midweek starter is having an off day. Now you're behind the 8 ball. I don't know if y'all remember 2 years ago when Albany State lost game one and had to win 6 games in order to get back. And that was the same year when they had all the different rain delays and everything else. So that we were talking a couple weeks ago when I talked to Coach about that and how it just rained hell on his pitching staff between the loss and all the rain delays that they had that week, and essentially almost had to play 3 games in one day, 3 games within a 24-hour period doing that. So no, it's Albany State to lose. Spring Hill, you know they're gonna be there. I know this is HBCU show, but they are the factor. They beat everybody in the SIAC, except they don't beat Albany State in the regular season. But they have them come tournament time. Can Albany State get over that hurdle, along with a team like a Savannah State? But the one team that's been sneaking up on everybody has been Miles in the SIAC. And I'll touch on the GCAC in a moment because Charles looks like he got something on his mind.
Well, you talk about Albany State, and we see how dominant they can be in the regular season and somehow stub their toe in postseason tournament. But like I just was curious, like how does that happen? Has it been starting that midweek starter for game one that's been, strategically something that has tripped him up?
It's been that was 1 year. Another year when they get down to it, even if you go with a regular rotation, by the time you get deep into a tournament, you've got your number 3 or your number 4 is going to have to pitch a game in that tournament. If their number 4 is better than our number 4, or it may not even be a number 4, you may start a bullpen guy, but you may have a combination of bullpen guys that wind up having a better performance going 2-3 innings, one time through the order, than your guy who's got to go 2 turns through the order because you got the victory yesterday, but you wound up having to burn 4 pitches to get that victory. So it's all different kind of factors. And then we all know tournament time, Charles. Somewhere somebody's gonna let a ball go through the 5-hole. It's going to happen. You're going to have some errors. And when do those errors occur, do they lead the run? How many walks do you have that's going to be there? How many hit batters are you going to have? Y'all have been to enough of these tournaments.
That's the college game. That's the college game. The beauty and the toughness about it. But you're right. I did want to follow up as we're going to close out this segment because I did want to make sure we got the major division in here, and I want to kind of go at both of y'all about this. We all vote in the Black College Nines top 10 poll rankings. This week released the small school division, and I'm going to quickly go through the top 10 because I think it's interesting the dichotomy of where the NIA programs are ranked versus where the Division II programs are ranked. We hadn't seen that in a while. Number 10, Miles College. You mentioned them, AD Drew, to keep your eyes on. And number 9, Wiley University. You talked about touching on a little bit of the GCAC. And
12-0.
Number 8, Jarvis Christian. That's actually out of the Red River Athletic Conference. You got Florida Memorial out of that Sun Conference. But then you get into these top 6 programs, and 5 of the top 6 are NCAA Division II. All but 2 of them out of the SIC. That's Edward Waters, another Florida school. Number 5, Bluefield State. At number 4, West Virginia State. And number 3, you get back to that NAIA program, Talladega College. Number 2, Savannah State. And number 1, Albany State. I'm going to go to you, Charles, and ask you this question and follow with Drew to give him a chance to maybe get in and talk a little bit about GCAC with the question I have for him. But you, what are your thoughts in the dichotomy we're seeing the Division II programs ranked higher than the NIA programs? Is that just an early indication thing, or you think there's something to that?
I think probably an early indication thing, because I know that there are some arms at the NAIA level, as we just saw this past week. Sam Guadamez, he was named NAIA Pitcher of the Week. But I know that there are some arms and some good programs at the NAIA level. I think it's just where we are within this part of the season thus far.
Question I had for you, AD Drew, before you give me a team or two to watch out of GCAC. What are your thoughts in terms of Florida Memorial that had the big win versus Talladega, ranked number 3? Where are you going with that rankings in the mix between those 2 ball clubs?
Although the record does not reflect it, I think Florida Memorial may be the best NAIA HBCU out there. They by far of all the teams
that's why in
that top 10 that you had, Dr. Cavil, they by far play the toughest competition in that Sun Conference. And I will put this into perspective for everybody. The Sun Conference takes 6 teams to their tournament every year. 5 of those teams always make the NAIA national tournament. And, and if you go back and look at the NAIA Final 4 over the past 4 to 5 years, somebody from the Sun Conference is always in the Final 4. The teams may change out, but that conference is always there. So, Florida Memorial has fought and been one of the best teams and doesn't even get into their own conference tournament some years. They didn't get into their own conference tournament last year, Dr. Cavil, but what did they win? Which shows you how good the baseball is in that conference and how good that team can be.
Right there.
And they beat where's Talladega ranked at again? Number who?
Number 3.
Yeah,
they took it to them.
Yeah.
And they didn't win. They beat them.
Yeah, they took it to them quickly, because I want to get in this break. But I did want to ask you that. What are the 1 or 2 teams out of GCAC we need to keep our eyes on?
Well, point blank, you've already mentioned it. Talladega. and Wiley.
Okay.
And Wiley, it's something about Florida and Texas schools. Maybe it's because of the climate or something along those lines, but something about Florida and Texas schools, because they get that early head start, gives them a leg up to have success over the long haul.
Yeah, the populations there certainly help in terms of what they're able to recruit, and then just how many are playing baseball. With that, let's take our last break, come back on the other side, and we'll talk about some of the key matchups this weekend in the large division of the SWAC. Stickers will be right back after this last break.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Cavill's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeaversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil's inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Let me just jump off with the Black College Nines top 10. Get into that and see if you have any thoughts there. At number 10, out of the NEC, you have Delaware State University. At number 9, Texas Southern University. That's WAC, Western Division. At number 8, Prairie View A&M University. Number 7, Southern University. At number 6, Grambling State University. So you see 4 of your bottom 5 teams of the top 10 out the SWAC, and all 4 of them are out of the Western Division, intriguingly enough. Top 5 programs, Alabama State. At number 4, Jackson State. At number 3, FAMU. At number 2, Bethune-Cookman, 4 more SWAC programs. But you go into the Coastal with North Carolina A&T remaining number 1, even though they had a tough past weekend. Be interesting to see, can they bounce back, continue to get things going, or will they start heading into a head swing as they play some pretty good baseball of late. Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of the top 10 for the major division?
I think it's
Black College Nines.
That's exactly how I had my top 10 this past week in terms of North Carolina A&T being the number 1 team. Tough weekend last weekend for Jackson State. They kind of fell down a little bit from their perch with the 3-game sweep from Florida A&M. But I think those top 5 teams are the deserving teams. When you take a look at A&T, Bethune-Cookman leading the SWAC East, Florida A&M right on their tail, Jackson State right there. SWAC East, 3 teams right there in the top. SWAC East, 4 teams in the top 5 there. So that tells you about the level of play. But Doc, you and I, we saw Grambling up close last week at Texas Southern. They can pound the baseball. So this is a big weekend, I think, for the Texas teams going into the weekend. You got Grambling coming to Prairie View, Southern coming to Texas Southern. Both Texas teams, Texas Southern and Prairie View, they need to get 2 of 3 this weekend to sort of get back into the race. Both teams had a rough weekend last weekend.
Well, boy, did we see Grambling, man. They were putting the bat on the ball. That's 4 straight SWAC conference games where they put up over 13 runs in each of those games. They lost the last one where Texas Southern got their backs going late in to be able to pull out that game. But AD Drew, same question to you in terms of Black College 9 top 10. What are your thoughts in terms of the rankings?
Which one of these is not like the other? Which one of these is not the same? I mean, top 5, you got one unicorn out there. That's A&T.
Yeah.
It's all SWAC. Bottom 5, it's all SWAC. So, first of all, shout out to the schedule makers, because the top 4 teams on both the East and the West play each other this weekend.
Big weekend.
How does that happen? So this is going to be clarity weekend, Dr. Cavil. Either you're going to see those top 2 teams separate themselves from the bottom 2 teams, or because basically the number 1 and the number 2 team play the number 3 and the number 4 team on both sides, or we're going to come back on Tuesday's show number 499, and talk about how things are all jumbled up in one division or another because the teams that were behind handled business this weekend, So, and it's going to come down to just like in the tournament, whose Friday starter is going to handle their business on Friday. Will that Friday starter be able to get out of the game without having to tax the bullpen? Because there's nothing that will forecast how good or how bad of a series is. Win or lose is how that starter on Friday goes. Because if both starters go deep into that game on Friday, you're going to have a good competitive series all week, no matter even if somebody sweeps. You're going to have a competitive series. If that starter doesn't get through that second time in the batting order on either one of those teams, chances are you're going to have a garbage series where one team is going to just dominate the other one because there's only so much pitching that these teams have, and when they start having to put two-way players in to eat up innings, you're not going to get some pretty baseball when you get to that point.
Let me drop this. Both of y'all alluded to this a little bit. You have Arkansas Pine Bluff at Southern. You have Mississippi Valley at Alabama A&M. You have Grambling at Prairie View, Alabama State at FAMU, Southern at Texas Southern, Auburn State at Grambling, and Jackson State at Bethune-Cookman. You all picked a couple of these games to highlight. I'm going to stick with you, Drew. If I forced you, just give me one. I know it's tough. But if I tell you what is the game that you most would have your eyes on in the East, and what is the game you most have your eyes on in the West? I'm going to ask you the same question, Charles.
I believe you said Texas Southern, Dr. Cavil, because I don't have the schedule in front of me right now. Let me pull up the schedule.
Yeah, Southern at Texas Southern, no problem. Southern at Texas Southern. You have Grambling at Prairie View on the West.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you why I like the Southern, Texas Southern is pretty much because of the disparity in the amount of games. If you look at the standings right now, you've got teams play 8 games, 7 games, 6 games. So because of that disparity, and it's going to, if those games don't get made up, it's going to come down to percentage points. Those games are critical, especially ironically, if you're the team who's played more games, because you could pick up a larger chunk with a win if you're a team that's played fewer games. So if you want to jump somebody, this is the weekend for those teams who are trailing. So I'm really intrigued about the Texas Southern and Southern, especially with the rivalry between those two. Coming on the East side, and I'm not going to be a homer, so I'm not going to take the obvious one with the FAMU and Alabama State. So I'm going to go over to the school on the beach, and them at Jackson State. And the reason I'm looking at this one, Jackson State, we saw how hot they started off. We saw what they did non-conference. And now I don't know if it's coming back to reality or was it just a one-off? And then you've got Bethune, who is, wants to establish their dominance in the East and show everybody that they are the school from Florida, not us up on the hill. So I'm really intrigued about that matchup.
Good point. And Charles, and I apologize to you, Drew, because I've seen this different places where they've had the schedule kind of in flux. It's actually, I believe, Alcorn at Texas Southern this weekend. With that being said, Charles, what matchup?
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, they have it in different places. I don't know what happened in terms of schedule, but even on the SWAC page, I've seen the schedule kind of be thrown off. So with that being said, Charles, the team that you're watching in the East and the team that you're watching in the West.
Okay, that changes things up there. Alcorn coming to Texas Southern has to be a huge weekend for Texas Southern. But let me focus in on the East because I think this is a big weekend for Alabama State. Going to taking on FAMU in Tallahassee. Alabama State can't afford to lose more ground because Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M are not coming back to the pack. So this is a big weekend for Alabama State. They're 5-3 in conference going into this weekend against FAMU, and the same can be said with regards to Jackson State. Jackson State has a ton of hitters. When you take a look at guys in terms of being in the top 10, in terms of batting average, in terms of RBIs, Jackson State has some guys right there in the mix. But you get this battle, pitching versus offense this weekend with Bethune-Cookman and Jackson State. Jackson State can't afford to have another over weekend like they had last weekend in FAMU. So big weekend for the 4 and 5 teams, or the 3 and 4 teams, I should say, in the SWAC East.
Yeah, great point. I think AD alluded to those 3 and 4 teams in the East as well. So I agree with both of you in regards to this. Some big baseball, big games being played. That'll do it for us tonight. Thank you for listening inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. And as AD Drew, make sure you go and vote. Give you another update there, another reminder. Make sure you go and vote.
Yeah.
I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, and today AD Drew giving us some love and some mid-major updates in terms of teams to keep your eyes on from the baseball perspective. We will give you some updates and find some ways as we get deeper into this, moving away from basketball. We'll get a chance to get in a little bit of softball talk as well. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab and we seek to get to 500. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That is on X, formerly known as Twitter, as well as Facebook, Instagram, DrKenyattaCavil, DrKenyattaCavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, shout out to Karen Griffin, said she just voted. Appreciate you. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on X, formerly known as Twitter. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube and Facebook. Make sure you check out on Saturday, Carlos Brown. And obviously on Sunday, make sure you see ADU again with Brian and AD on the Sports Wrap. With that being said, dream big, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
AD?
Vote for Morgan. Lecture.
Dismiss.